on that light side, and then this, oops, yeah, that works, sorry. So I have that. Let's say, oops, my angles here are a little bit wonky. I drew this pretty quickly. So maybe, that would be a good time to fix that. But I'm not going to worry about it. So let's keep going. Doing these directional marks that carry me across that side of the sponge brush. It gets a little bit lighter up here, so for the time being, I'll do a couple of directional lines, but I'll allow that it's catching some ambient light. That's coming from that direction, so I'll let that stay. The brush is a very simple form, so it's something that I can easily come back to. And this, here's another way of making marks with this stuff, just kind of being a little bit quick about it in general. Let's see, how do I travel across this? I'm seeing that I'm traveling across it kind of in this direction. And like I was referencing before, when I'm looking at my still life, I don't see much of this contour. It's more just gray next to gray. So I can take this and I can soften that a little bit more. And then I could come in and contour it a little bit with the white Conte. All right, I'm missing some shadow over here. That's cast by the mug. Make sure we're still recording. Thank you. I keep looking at this phone, making sure I'm not getting cut off. Makes me a little bit nervous. Then I might get cut off, because I don't want to have to start all the way over. Or you guys lose a massive chunk of this. So, what I might do over here, I can start strengthening some of these contours, because there's this shadow area that falls over here. So these can naturally fall a little bit more to contour. Okay, so I have that. And then once I start putting this shadow in, and maybe, yeah, I'm going to bias my my shadows so that they're kind of all going in a single direction. You could do some sort of cross-hatching stuff so they're kind of leading in several directions, but I'm just going to do these roughly horizontal parallel lines. They're slightly less than horizontal. Okay, so maybe I'll go ahead and get in here and bring it up to this edge. And then these shadows end up going, let's see where it goes. I'm closing one eye so I can see this a little bit better. They more or less go off the edge of this composition. Okay, and then this little thing down here, so there's a fair amount of, I think I made that a little too far that direction. I kind of want it to angle up a little bit more, so it's not quite so horizontal. But there's some light that's being cast between this shadow and the bottom of this, and then this casts a shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that in. Let's see, it's kind of ends about right there. So it's going off the edge of my composition. That is fine. Let me kind of clean up some of these contours, get rid of some of these that fall under in the more white areas. I could mitigate that a little bit. So at this point, I have this thing pretty well plotted out, and it's sort of just, I keep chugging along, and I start looking a little bit closer at the slight variances in light and value. Something that's popping out to me right now is I see this little rim of light that's happening in here, so I'm going over the black with my white, and it ends up making kind of this gray. That's okay. So I see that. Over here I need to punch this handle up a little bit because it's starting to disappear. And I might even go ahead and draw, just to help define this a little bit more, draw a little, this is a white mug, so a white contour can serve it fairly well. So I might do that. I'm forgetting about the shadow that was cast. I realize this now. That's cast by the egg onto the mug. So following in that kind of direction. So maybe I need to do that. Then I start to lose the bottom of the mug, like that, the little bottom contour. So I might punch that in a little bit harder, just so I see that. There's certain areas of the surface that could use a little more light on them. I'm seeing that there's a little bit more light on this side of the background and also on the surface. So I can start to kind of very subtly throw some highlight in there, and that, I don't even know, let me see if you can even register. Yeah, you can register that on the phone. Okay, notice it's just these very kind of spaced parallel lines. That gives this really subtle sense of light. Then, now I think I can really start punching light in a little bit more dramatically. So, let me look at this mug for a second. It's a little bit glary, but I think my light is pretty close to the side of it, really coming from right in here. So that's sort of where the highlight is. And then there's this really, really strong highlight right here. It's happening. And then once I start getting these really strong highlights in, that allows me to see where there's more stronger sort of quarter tones. Remember the terms, the different areas of light. Highlight, quarter tone, halftone, core shadow, reflected light, cast shadow. So remember all of those. And so I might find that there's areas of quarter tone that I can start to punch up. I definitely need to work on this right now. And there's actually a really strong highlight right here on the handle. Okay. And maybe there's this little contour right here that I could fuss around with. That was maybe a little too dark. So I can actually kind of soften it into a gray. And you'll find that blending, you can find that that you're able to blend this by pressing the two, if I go into, that white into that black, it starts to blend into a gray. So that's one way that you can kind of blend these things. You still want to go in that directional, get that directional movement across the surface. I'm going to darken this. I'm realizing I have to punch in some more of the core shadow over here. So I'm going to punch that in a little bit more. I don't know why I keep saying punch. And you can start to get a little bit of, you can pull these out a little bit with a pink eraser. It's a little beefier than your kneaded eraser. So I can start to get a little bit of that reflected light that I might expect to see down there. Same thing over here with the this edge of the egg. The egg light is going to reflect off of this surface and bounce onto that bottom edge of the egg. So I can get that. Yep. See, it doesn't work perfectly. So, but you sometimes have to kind of work at it. Yeah, see, now I'm starting to get a little bit of that. So I start to get, I wonder if I can make that out. I can start to get some of that. So, what else? Maybe I'll start bringing this a little bit further over. And man, there's a little bit of reflected light kind of inside that contour. And notice I can make marks. I can kind of erase in the same direction. I'm looking at this and I'm like, one of the darkest areas is inside here. I'm kind of squinting my eyes and I'm seeing this sort of shape emerge, this dark shadow shape that's right here. It's almost this triangular shape. And again, you see I'm bouncing around a lot. I'm going to a lot of different places. I see on this sort of seam of the handle, where the handle meets the mug, there's, because of its turns toward the light in a particular way, I get a strong, almost highlight. I get the same thing down here where this portion of the handle joins. I might say this bottom portion of the egg where it falls into shadow right here, and it's leaning on the cup, it gets a little more contour. Let's see what else. Let's look at the back. Back here, I'm getting some light, you know, like I was saying earlier. Some light, so I can treat that somewhat. It's a little ghostly. Kind of way over here, I can start to add in the background, the wall. I see it gets a little bit darker, and then there's maybe this middle gray is sort of good for this portion. I'm not going overboard on that background, on the negative space. One thing that would be really helpful is sometimes where shadow meets light, you can punch that up. Okay, sorry, I thought I would stop recording. This is a long demo. You can play this double speed if you wish. So where the shadow meets and some of these areas meet, you might notice you might exaggerate the light a little bit there, just a little bit. Also, when there's light, because this area of the composition is the portion that's kind of closest to me, the strong contrast with dark and light really draws your eye towards it, so it makes this area look much closer to you. Alright, and then as we go, over here, sort of need to fuss with this a little bit more. Okay, and then I should start, don't want this demo to go too long, but I can start readdressing this a little bit more, making it pop out a little bit more, and so on and so forth. So, this is basically how you use this stuff. And notice there's very little erasing that I was doing, so it's similar to Vine Charcoal in its sort of expressive and its fairly malleable nature. It's more forgiving than graphite, right? But it doesn't erase quite as easily, so I'm not using much eraser here. But I am also, on this white paper, I'm able to preserve that middle value and allow it to be basically my mid-tone, my halftone, right? So this was just a quick, 25-minute, whatever it is, version of what you guys are going to be doing. This is bothering me because that's starting to disappear, so I'll add in that contour a little bit more. Okay, so there we go. That's roughly how this works. So when you're setting yours up, be really ambitious. Do something that more, ambitious than this simple 3 object still life. But that's basically it. So let me know if you have any questions, you guys who are working from home. And I will be happy to see what you start off with in the class period on your remote workday on Monday. So thanks for checking this out, guys. And if you're seeing this on Monday, I'll see you on Wednesday. Great. Thanks, guys. Bye.